Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's Let's Talk. And today we're going to be talking about public libraries and the resources and programs that they offer to people in Newfoundland and Labrador. Our weekly Let's Talk sessions, by the way, are supported by United Way Newfoundland and Labrador, and we are truly grateful to them for this support. Before I introduce today's presenter, I'd like to go over a few brief housekeeping items with you. Okay, I'd like everyone to make sure that the microphone is muted so that we'll cut out any background noises that might be going on around you. Also, if anyone requires closed captioning, we are captioning this, and you can click on the CC button at the end of your screen, okay, if you want to close caption it. Any questions or comments you have, you can just click on the chat and put them in the chat box that will come up on the right of your screen, okay? Any questions and comments? And when the presentation is finished, I'll be going through those and passing any questions you might have on to the presenter for response. And I want to tell everyone that this session is being recorded to YouTube. Okay, so maybe you can see your beautiful faces in a couple of days on YouTube. There are 94 public libraries across Newfoundland and Labrador. 3 here in St. John's. We have 29 in the rest of the eastern region, and 29 across western and Labrador regions, and there's 33 libraries in central. When we were registering, we asked participants to let us know 3 things. We wanted to know if participants use the public libraries. 26 people said yes, they do, and 4 said no, they don't. We also asked do you live near a public library? 28 said yes, and 2 said no, because we know that a few years ago some of the libraries were closed, okay? And the third question was, if there was a public library near you, would you use it? When we asked that question, 26 people said yes, 1 said no, and 3 said they don't know. And I kind of wonder if the people who don't or who would not use a library are now relying on the internet for their information and online books and everything for their reading pleasure. And I guess that's all understandable with the wealth of information at our fingertips since the introduction of the internet. But I can't help but wonder too, how much more information from pre-computer days is available at our public libraries as opposed to internet searches. And you know, when it comes to books and reading books, I like to feel the paper in my hands. I like having that book there in front of me. But anyway, libraries are not all about reading and research, okay? And among the 94 public libraries in this province, they offer a range of supports and programs. And I'm pleased today to present a special guest, Mark McCumber. Mark is the Regional Librarian for the Eastern Division of Newfoundland and Labrador Public Libraries. He completed a Master of Library and Information Studies at Dalhousie University, Halifax, in 2015, and he has worked in public libraries since graduating. He first worked in New Brunswick and then in Newfoundland and Labrador. He started here in the fall of 2017. And in terms of Mark's personal life, when he's not working in libraries, he enjoys golfing and foraging, particularly for those Newfoundland blueberries. And he has recently taken up birding. He'll be our birding expert before too long. And he also has a passion for cooking and baking. So, I mean, you know, really, a man who plays golf and he still cooks and bakes, that's fabulous. And Mark is going to give us some interesting facts about the Newfoundland and Labrador Public Libraries, an overview of the programs and services that our libraries offer, and what to expect now, you know, of our public libraries during COVID-19 in terms of the services they're offering, their hours, that kind of thing. And once again, as we move along, you can put your questions and comments in the chat area at the bottom of your screen. And when the presentation is over, I will relay them to Mark for response. And without further ado, I am going to take my slides down and Mark will share his. Thanks, everyone.
Can you see that presentation? It didn't give me a, oh yes, I did choose it, and start my slideshow. All right, welcome and thanks for coming. I am happy to be here. I'm happy to be in Newfoundland, given the situation in the rest of Canada. I came here with my partner in 2017 because she got into medical school. Although I myself am 1/4 Newfoundlander, my grandmother was born in Bristol's Hope outside of Carbonear. And I've been happy to like explore this, area of the island with those, roots here. My mother in particular is super stoked that I'm here in Newfoundland because she's a big genealogy person, and she loves coming and visiting. She loves, seeing all these places that she reads about in her various history books and whatnot. So I'll do my best to reflect the Newfoundland and Labrador Public Library service. Each library is kind of unique in the things that it offers. Although there are a lot of consistencies, there are core services that we offer at pretty much all libraries, and we really are trying to create a culture of sharing between all of our libraries as well. We are working on a project right now that will make it a lot easier for people to borrow material from any corner of the province and have it shipped to any corner of the province. And I saw when Mary was doing her intro, she mentioned a few of us are not necessarily close to a public library, and we have a service that actually will ensure that people do get materials that they want. It's called Books by Mail, and I'll talk about it a little later, but it's something that you can sign up for, and essentially you'll just get the books you want or books chosen for you delivered to your door through the mail with a return mail envelope that you can return when you're done the borrowing period. So what is a library? It's of course a collection of materials, books, DVDs, all sorts of different things. It is a shared space, although with COVID-19 pandemic on the go, we've actually had to suspend in-person visiting, although now in-person visiting is allowed. We generally are not allowing meeting at the library. We have a limited capacity for the number of people that are allowed into most spaces, and it's generally meant so that people can go in and get materials and then check them out and leave and not really stay and fraternize and socialize. But hopefully that will change in the near future, but as of right now, it's just the reality of our circumstance. It's a network of resources, so by having a provincial library service and a pooling of resources, we're able to subscribe to things that would otherwise be very expensive for an individual town or community to subscribe to. For example, we have subscriptions to all kinds of magazines and newspapers and other like educational kind of tools that would otherwise cost a lot of money for an individual to subscribe to. And it's an opportunity to learn and or have fun, either through consuming nonfiction material and learning about a new subject, or exploring fictional worlds through of course fiction literature and other media. So what is in a library? Of course, there is library staff that can help you with what you're looking for or what you need. There is library materials that you can browse and select from. There are group activities that you can, meet, learn something new, or, practice something. One of the more popular things that you find at many libraries across the province are needlework groups, knitting groups, and such. And I mean, that's a great way that people, share their skill sets and passions together, and can, bond over something that they all, have an appreciation for. There are computers and Wi-Fi. These things are available right now, but generally you do have to book your computer session in advance, and just the capacity is reduced. So there would only be one person allowed at a time in a library on a computer, and you just have to book it in advance in order for everyone to be safe and to ensure that there's enough space between individual patrons. There are workplaces available, tables and chairs, or comfortable seating for people to sit and read. And again, we've disallowed this in the temporary, but once in the future, once things return to normal, this will be again a reality. Of course, there is knowledge contained in the library through the various materials that we have, and then also our staff are to varying degrees knowledgeable about all kinds of things and can probably help you out if. Or at least know someone that can help you out if you go and ask. And of course, there is an adventure through consuming the media and the materials that are available in the space. We have books to borrow. We have ebooks and e-audio books that are available. At certain libraries across the province, there are games that you can borrow, all sorts of different games. We had a very large donation of games from a large, I guess was either a store or maybe like a cafe that you could go and rent games at, but it closed down and they donated all the games to us. So we got like 300 plus games donated at one time that we spread across the few larger libraries in the province. So you can go there and borrow a game for a weekend. Of course, newspapers, news media, both physical, and we have a subscription to a database that has all sorts of major news publications, not only from Canada, but from around the world. There's CDs, there's musical instruments, although that collection is specific to the St. John's library and region. It's mostly because we can't really ship things like that. They're too big and kind of delicate, and but it is available if you're in that area, and I know several of us are at least nearby St. John's. Now, with all of these, with something like that, you can go to St. John's Library and borrow it. You just have to return it there too. So anyone could do that. It's just not necessarily convenient for everyone, unfortunately. And it's not really a choice of ours either. It's kind of a parameter that's set by the Sun Life Financial that made the donation of this music library. I think we were like the 4th or 5th place in Canada that had this opportunity to have this collection in our greater collection. We have, of course, DVDs, as I mentioned before, a big collection of DVDs. Not everything's available on Netflix or on, on Amazon Prime or whatever it is that you might have a subscription for. But we do have a very large collection of DVDs, and we do ship those across the province. So just like books, if something's not available in your library, that doesn't mean you can't have access to it. We share things all the time, and we mail things all the time. And we're going to be doing increasingly more of this. We're making an internal change that will really make it a lot easier for you to go on the computer or just call in the library, but to go on the computer and search for what's in the collection. And if you see something you like, it would just be a click of a button away from it being delivered. Now that would take, maybe a week for it to be taken off the shelf and put in the mail and sent over to your library, but it will be a possibility. It will greatly increase accessibility to materials in all corners of the province. How do I use the library? Well, you can visit the library and browse the collection and just borrow what appeals to you. There are some sites right now that are restricted just to curbside pickup. So that means we can't actually allow people into the library. And the reason for that, actually, I think in all the circumstances, is because those libraries are located in schools. And we just don't make the rules for the school spaces. So in the meantime, we just have to abide by the rules that are kind of decided by the principals in the individual schools. But I think it's in the works that these places will be open in a similar capacity to our regular library spaces in the near future, but it's just not it's just not the case right this minute. You can go online and you can search what's in the collection, see what's available, and and you can order it by, you know, calling the library and talking to the library staff, asking them to order it for you and send it in. As I mentioned, this will become much, much easier in the very near future, but we're just working on the filing touches and training staff as to how this new system will work. But as of right now, you still can you know, browse the catalog and see what's available and order it. It's just more of a mechanical process where you call someone and ask for it to happen instead of just being able to do it by a click of a button on your computer. You can call the library and ask for help, find out more information about hours or services, or, you know, what's available at that particular branch, or ask them, again, as I mentioned, to order something in for you. That first one was meant to be, you can ask someone in person by talking to the library staff at the circulation desk. And then of course you can call them and ask the same things as well by telephone. So this is a map of our Eastern Division, which I am a part of. I just put little tabs on all the different spaces we have libraries. As you can see, there are one in most corners of the province. The yellow tabs are the places that actually are only open for curbside pickup right now. And these are all in school libraries. Fortunately, those three right on the same coast of the Southern Bureau Peninsula are all in schools, and those are all limited to curbside pickup at the moment. On the other side, am I coming through all right? Because I just got a notification that said my internet connection is unstable, but I'm still presenting okay? Okay. So there are libraries that are open on the other side of the peninsula there, where you can go in and browse a collection or pop in and use a computer. Just unfortunately, just right now, as I mentioned, because they're in schools, we can't go into those physical spaces right now. Up in Winterton as well, and Conception Bay South Library, because it's so physically small, it's just not feasible to have like multiple people in that space. So they are only offering curbside pickup right now. But as anyone from CBS might know, we're in the works for constructing a new library. I think they've broken ground. They've definitely finalized the plans, and they've you know, committed to building this new space, and hopefully we'll see it up and running within the next, you know, couple of years. But it's been a slog, I understand, so far since I think it's been in the works for like 20 years now that they've been trying to get a new public library built in that community. So some library trivia for anyone who is interested in trying to, you can type your answers into the chat box. So the Public Library Act passed in 1935, established the Public Library Board, and began our journey toward the Newfoundland Library Public Library Service. But when was the first public library established in Newfoundland? You got any answers, Mary? Also where?
No one was giving me a response, and I wouldn't even hazard a guess. But I would say before 1935, since I would imagine there was libraries in the province before. Well, actually, it wasn't even a province then, before the act was put in place.
So the answer is
saying guess in 1949.
No, it was in the 1800s, early 1800s.
1800s.
Yeah, it was in Harbor Grace in 1818.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
As I understand it, that was like the hot spot in the area, or in Newfoundland at the time, wasn't it? Was Carbonear, Harbor Grace area was where a lot of the population first established, even before more people kind of moved into St. John's, and St. John's became the big city.
Yep. That's amazing. That's pretty early.
And question number 2 for this first little trivia break. What community was the first to receive a grant from the Public Library Board to open and operate a library outside of St. John's? This will be after 1835 or 1935, when the library system was established. The first library was opened in St. John's, I think in 1936, very early, like January 9th, 1936, they opened a library in St. John's, but there was one that was open. The next one that was open was
Corner Brook, someone is asking.
not Corner Brook. It's
Grandfather.
actually also in our Eastern Division here. Not necessarily where I would have thought, but the answer is Catalina, up on the Bonavista Vista Peninsula.
Wow.
Very soon after, maybe like the next
prizes.
Was there prizes? Well, this whole presentation's a prize learning about the public library service. I don't have any prizes now. Here is the Central Division. And you can see here we have a lot more yellow, and that's because we have a lot more libraries that are located in school publics or public schools. So these libraries right now are restricted to curbside pickup. What that means is that you just call the library and ask for what you want. Now, whether that's just you want a particular author, you want something like a particular author or a genre, or you just want something new or something interesting, or you know the exact book that you want, and you call and ask, and they'll get it ready for you and give you time to go and pick it up, and you can go and pick up the materials then. Of course, there are still a number of these libraries that are open to the public to be able to go in and browse or use the space. They're in most of the larger spots. That's it is what it is. Got some more library trivia here. Prior to becoming Twillingate's first librarian, Mabel Anstey had a career in what field, she had a career abroad in what field? This again was in the early 1930s when the library in Twillingate was open. It was one of a handful of ones that was established kind of in those the first decade after the Provincial Library Board was founded. Any ideas?
I've never heard of Mabel Anstey. I'm sorry.
Mabel Anstey had a career as a professional model in New York City prior to becoming the first librarian in Twillingate. So she came back from, bustling New York City in the 1930s. Probably in New York City they would have had skyscrapers and cars at the time, and back to Twillingate where I was still an island, and I understand until the Trans-Canada Highway was built, cars really weren't that popular here in Newfoundland at all. So it was probably another big culture shock for her coming back to Twillingate after having lived in the big city for that period of time. I understand she was not the librarian there for a long time after that. She must, maybe, I don't know what she did after quitting her job as librarian, but she was the first professional librarian in Twillingate.
Amazing.
Fogo Island was among the first communities in Newfoundland to have a library in the 1930s, long before motorized vehicles became common after the completion of the TCH in 65. Finish the drive in 65, I think was the slogan. How did communities in Fogo share library materials? Because back then, even as now, the larger communities would, supply, smaller communities nearby with library materials and with services, when possible. So, but even back in this time, library books were being shared from the Fogo Island Public Library to those other small communities around Fogo Island. So, how did they share books between the communities at this time?
Horseback.
Yes, exactly. It was.
Oh,
they would pack boxes of books up and send them on horseback whenever someone was bound to make the journey to the nearby community. I don't know if it was just like hey Johnny, I hear you're going down the path to Some someplace. And I also saw these boxes were quite large, so I don't know if they also had wagons as well that would have been attached to. I guess, I mean, I assume they would have had wagons as well, or carts, I guess, that were being drawn by horseback. But that's how they would share their materials between places. And also, I mean, I guess they would have also had maybe tar or something on the boxes to make sure the cracks didn't leak. But that seems to be a pretty risky proposition to be packing up expensive books into into a wooden box to be dragged through Newfoundland of all places, which we know is a little wet at times. So I just wanted to feature a library in the Central Region, just to describe some of the unique features of that library. And also, this is a time that we can highlight something called the Home Reader Service, which actually delivers library materials to people that have a hard time getting to the library, whether it's just in the wintertime when there's snow and ice on the ground. It doesn't have to be necessarily an all-year circumstance. If during the summer it's easier to get to the library. But anyone who does have a difficult time getting to the library, who is a senior or someone that's experiencing, mobility issues, there is a home reader service, but it's only in specific areas, and that's areas that we have, a library vehicle that we own ourselves. So it is. There's one in the St. John's area. There's one in Gander, one in Grand Falls, Windsor, and one in Corner Brook area. And in order to find out more about those things, there's a spot on the website where you can actually. I have a slide for that later that I'll tell you a little more about the service. At this library in Grand Falls, they have a special reading room that has like a special collection in it. That's actually it's usable, but you're not allowed to actually take materials out of it. You can certainly make copies of materials that you're interested in if you're doing genealogy or something like that and you want a copy for your own records. But you can't actually take these books off-site because they are very valuable, at least in a local information capacity. In this reading room, among other things, I didn't list everything that's in it, but there's the Grand Falls telephone directory of 1949. There are birth records from parishes in the Central Region. There is a work called The Exploits of the Reverend Garland G. Lacey, which is a recollection of his life in early Grand Falls from its beginning in 1919. There's a PhD or master's level history work about Grand Falls that is in that space as well, which very likely has a lot of curated information from first primary sources. So you don't have to slog through the old documents for at least the big essential information. You could check out this work on the history of Grand Falls. Or, and there's this other work here called 50 Years of Progress in Grand Falls, the impact of the Anglo Development Company Limited on the economy of Newfoundland. As well, within this library, there, at least prior to the pandemic, there was a weekly knitting group and weekly rug hooking group that would meet at this library. There's an annual seniors tea that they would have at this library as well. And just to mention, oftentimes programs at our libraries end up being related to partnerships that we have with other organizations, whether that is, an accountant that wants to talk about, RRSPs or, retirement, or it's, it's someone talking about, estates and wills. And these things are circumstantial. And oftentimes we have an opportunity where someone wants to go around to several libraries in a region and do, these one-off presentations. They're not consistent programs, but they're really, like I said, they're opportunities that we end up having. And the best way to find out what's going on at your library is, well, to drop by it. There's always posters up that are describing the programs. You can call up the library and just ask if there's anything on the go. But things are also posted online on Facebook in particular is a tool that's used often where events are advertised. And that's really the best way to find out what's going on at an individual library, is to follow that library on Facebook, and then you'll see the events posted. And just to also specify, just like all of our materials are shared between libraries, an individual can go to a program that's hosted by another library if you're not in that community, right? So if you live, if you live only 10 kilometers away from another library, or even 100 kilometers away from another library, and a program is really appealing to you, you're more than welcome to make that trek and go to and attend that program. Also, because of the pandemic, we've had to shift our programming to online, similar to this one here. So all of the things that we're coming up with now are offered in this capacity. And maybe what that'll mean is that in the future, anytime we have a program with particular specialized interest, say it's in St. John's, or it's in one of these communities in the Eastern Division, we have the capacity to make it available to other people as well. So it could be recorded and people could attend, from every corner of the province. So hopefully that is a change that we make in the near future. I think it will be, frankly. So that will make a lot more programming opportunities available for people in different areas of the province, because one of the things that makes it really hard to offer programs at some of the smaller libraries is some of these libraries only have one staff person in them, right? And that makes it hard for someone to be able to, check out materials and help people at the desk, and then also at the same time offer a program. It's almost impossible, right? So that ends up being why we end up relying on partner organizations or volunteers in the community. Like the knitting groups are generally all run by just knitting enthusiasts. And they just, they meet at the library because it's a nice, comfortable, warm space that, has, seating available, and, the space to make a circle with your chairs, and, sit down and chat for an hour or two, and do your crafting, and also, teach each other. Here is the Western Division. Here's the Western Division map, and as well as keeps skipping for me without my asking. So you see here, we do have still a handful of libraries that are just curbside pickup, but most of them are open to the public for browsing and use. Same circumstance as I mentioned before, so I won't go into it any more than that. If you have any questions about a particular library branch, we can talk about it at the end. Some more library trivia. This is the last slide of library trivia. In the early days of the books by mail service, established in 1975, how were library collections advertised to people who could not visit a library to browse the collection? I haven't talked about the books by mail service yet, but essentially the books by mail service is for anyone who's not nearby a library. I think it's 24 kilometers or more. You can sign up for the books by mail service, which essentially means that the books are sent directly to your door with return slip. Maybe I did mention that earlier, I think, when at the start of the presentation. But yeah, does anyone have any ideas? How do people find out what they could borrow before the internet, before you could pop on to the catalog and browse what was available? We had an interesting way that we advertised the new materials or desirable materials that were available to borrow. Any guesses? We had catalogs similar to the Sears catalog. They had descriptions of up to 1,000 items, and they were sent to over 100 communities all across the province. So you would have gotten a big, thick, catalog in the mail that told you about all the new books we had acquired. Labrador City was a pioneer town with many single men, as well as men whose family lived away from the area. And the people in this community were pretty creative in how they came up with a special initiative that was created to kind of appeal to this demographic and get reading materials in the hands of these gentlemen that were kind of isolated and spending long days working in, I guess, probably the mines in Labrador City, right? So anyone know what they did to appeal to these gentlemen? Well, they had a special paperback exchange because the paperback books were smaller and also less valuable, right? Compared to a hardcover book, they cost only a fifth as much or so. So it didn't matter if they got, messed up, and they fit very nicely into a lunchbox to be taken to work with, and read during your lunch break or coffee break. So that's what they did. They had a big paperback exchange where they just let people put them in their lunchbox, and if it got ruined by condiments, it didn't really matter. So the Corner Brook Public Library is another one that I just wanted to feature. Again, they also have the home reading service, as I mentioned. So if you know anyone that has difficulty getting to the library because either they don't drive it or they have mobility issues, they can sign up for the home reading service in the Corner Brook area. They have a special project that has come out in the last few years, but it got a lot of attention in the media. It's memory care kits. This was a special project with materials to support caregivers and friends of those experiencing memory loss. So each kit contains, some games to play, resource materials that that provide more information about dementia and memory loss and what you can do to support any loved one or friend or person in the community that's experiencing that. And also DVDs and also picture books to help spark memories. And all these are like subject related. So there's one about, maybe about flowers and gardening. There's one about, pets and animals and different stuff that are specifically designed to help these individuals. And one of the many, like Corner Brook does have lots of programs on the go. And one of the ones that recently was a big endeavor was called the Well Now series that my colleague Natasha was coordinating, and it's still kind of ongoing. We're doing some videos now. We have a YouTube channel that we post certain, oftentimes it has like story time programming and stuff on it, but it does have other adult programs as well. Oops. Like, for example, a new one that just came out only a little while ago, maybe last week, was there's a new seated yoga instructional video that you can follow along and do a little bit of exercise in your own home. And Natasha, who put that together, she's actually she works with the organization, but she's a certified yoga instructor, and she is a very lovely individual. And I encourage you to go and check out these videos. Oftentimes these videos that we produce for the whole province are going to be posted on all the larger, and really hopefully all of the Facebook groups or all the Facebook pages. So if you did follow your local one, you would very likely see anything like this that's a larger provincial initiative would also be advertised on that as well. So even just following your local library page is a great way to find out about the larger provincial initiatives as well that are going on in the library service. So here are some programs that are going on like in the immediate future that are going to be virtual that you can attend if you're interested. There's an online knitting group scheduled for January 26th at 2 p.m. and this is through the AC Hunter Library. So to find that one, you would just do a search for the St. John's Public Library Facebook group, and you can sign up for it just like anyone else can. There's also a Organizing in the New Year program that is going on this upcoming January 21st. That's at 7 p.m. And there's a Wills and Estates program scheduled for January 26th as well, but that's at 7 p.m. in the evening. And this next one is actually it's a program that I run. It's called the Inclusive Book Club. And what it actually is a book club that uses, we choose our books based on what's available in accessible formats. So it's a partnership. It was started out as a partnership with the CNIB. So these are individuals that are, have vision, difficulties. But my goal for the project was always to make it, inclusive in all senses. So inclusive as far as where you are in the province, where, any corner of the province you could participate. If you were necessarily, like, maybe like the timing for the book club in your local area didn't work for you, maybe you could attend this one instead. Maybe you had social anxiety and you just didn't like to go to a book club in person with strangers, but you would maybe be open to participating in this one virtually, or just in a different capacity. So that was my original goal for this book club, and it still kind of is. So we do pick books that are available through CELA, which is something I'll talk about a little bit later. But the CELA is the Center for Equitable Library Access, and what that organization does is it provides copyright-free access to anyone that has a print disability. And a print disability means well, it can mean that they have a visual impairment that makes it so they can't read a traditional book, or even that it's difficult to read a traditional book. Like, vision deteriorates over time for some people at different degrees, and just small print in a traditional book might just be too small for an individual to consume. So that counts as or that qualifies you to be able to use CELA services. And these, so the CELA library provides either e-audiobook format, so you can just listen to it, and it comes in different formats. So either like in a CD format that you can just pop into a CD player and listen to the audiobook, or if you're tech savvy and you've got a cell phone or a computer, you can receive this audiobook file digitally, and you can play it on your computer or on your phone, or there are special devices as well that are they're more accessible. They have, but we don't actually, we don't have any of those, unfortunately. You can there's something called a daisy player essentially, but they're meant to be really usable for someone that is actually blind and maybe does have mobility issues as well. So they're quite simple. It's just like a play, pause, maybe like skip, and just a few easy to use buttons. And then they also have they will also send e-text formats. So maybe it's just that text is too small, and you can't necessarily always get an ebook copy of whatever, but they'll send an e-text copy of a book that you can actually manipulate the size of, so you can make it into large print, and as larger print as you want. So maybe you can still see, but it's just even the text on my screen is too small. You can make it even bigger than that, right? And you can still read. You can make it as big as you want, essentially. And then they also have things like e-braille and braille materials that they'll send as well. So it really depends in that service. It depends on what your preference is. But I didn't finish. So the three types of person that, or of user that can access this material is someone with vision difficulty, someone with physical difficulty. So that could mean like arthritis or something like that makes it hard to hold and manipulate a book over time, or hold it up or whatever. Like, that also qualifies as someone that can avail of these resources. And then as well, there's people with learning impairment, like dyslexia or something like that. They can also avail of these materials. And they've got a big collection, and they have because of their copyright rules, they actually get access to like new stuff pretty quickly. So you can get the bestsellers pretty readily through the service. It's not just old materials or whatever's available. They get a good collection. As I mentioned, the Books by Mail service. The Books by Mail service is a library service offered to communities where no public library is within 24 kilometers of where a person lives in the province. These are managed regionally, so there's someone in Central, Eastern, and Western and Labrador individually that responds to the people in their areas. You can find out more about this. Just take a second if this does appeal to you, or you know someone that could avail of this. To find out more about it, just contact one of these numbers or these email addresses. And this will be shared at the end, and I can certainly pass it on to Mary as well. But there's just it's pretty much the same rules as using library materials otherwise. You do have to be a registered library user in order to sign up for the books by mail service. As opposed to regular books, I think there's not necessarily a way that you can renew a book. I think you do have to return it in that first, when it's time at the end of the first borrowing period. So it'd be a 3-week period from when you receive your books. And if you do damage or lose a book, you are responsible for the replacement cost, but that is similar to our regular policy anyway. There's the home reader service, as I mentioned before. It's available in those larger areas, St. John's, Gander, Grand Falls, Windsor, and Corner Brook. The home reader service delivers material free of charge to residents in these communities if they are senior citizens who cannot visit the library, visually or physically challenged persons, or persons living in a care facility or seniors housing. This service will deliver new books and take back previously loaned materials on a rotating schedule. They can bring you books in regular print or large print. They can bring talking books, which are the DAISY format that I mentioned earlier, which is just a single CD that has an audiobook on it, or audiobooks as well that come in it's a packet of 10 to as many CDs as it takes to contain the audio files for the audiobooks. So as I mentioned about the CELA library, I kind of just talked about it prior, but I just have a quote. It's not even a quote. I just kind of made it up, but I like to read, but I'm having a hard time reading small print or using a traditional book. And that's pretty much what you have to, what you consider when you're thinking of whether or not CELA is something that could be useful to you. And it's kind of like a self-prescribed kind of thing. You don't need a doctor's note that says X. You can just, call them up and say, this is my circumstance, and they'll set you up with an account, and then you are able to avail of their services. I've got the website listed there. And as I mentioned, a lot of these are audiobooks on CD or e-text files or e-audio formats. And again, there's like a Braille and an e-Braille. The e-Braille is kind of crazy. It's like a little machine that as you read along, it changes to each sentence of Braille as it it's like magic, or I mean, it's not magic, it's science and technology, but it's a pretty cool technological development for people that can read Braille. Because Braille books end up being a lot bigger than the book. They end up being great, big, thick manuscripts when you see one in actual physical format. We have a brand new guide for resources for seniors that just has been published in the last few days. We were putting the final touches on it. You can access this through our website and through this link up here at the top of the screen. But as you can see here on the left side tab of it, we've got resources related to Alzheimer's support, elder abuse, learning technology skills, the various library services and resources that are available, national organizations and resources, Newfoundland organization resources, as well as wellness. And I hope it's useful. We'll be continuing to update it and and add to it as time goes on, as resources become available, as things become not available. But that's yes, it's something that we've just put the final touches on just in the last few days. Yes, now, I remember there were some specific questions now that I'm at the end of the presentation.
Mark, I have a couple of comments here that came up in our chat box.
Sure.
And one of our participants was saying that they asked, I guess her family, asked for some crime movies. And the library packaged a few good DVDs for curbside pickup freight service. So I guess you don't even need to have the names of the books or the movies. Just say, send me something on murder and mayhem, and the library will some stuff out and send it to you. Another one of our participants works with a network of community groups, and would like to know where to get information on the programs to attend so that she can share them with the organizations in her network.
The best way to find out about the programs that are upcoming is to either follow the provincial Twitter account or the Facebook pages. The Facebook page for the St. John's Public Library ends up having the most stuff on it because it is the largest, population center. But as I said, like we're trying to produce more stuff that is provincially directed and accessible now. So those are the best ways to find out about what's going on. If you want to know like what's going on at the particular library once things return to normal, you could just really be in touch, or make a relationship with the librarian at that branch. I'm sure they'd be happy to keep you up to date and send you correspondence when things become available. It just really depends on the community. Some libraries do have like an email list that they send out updates to their constituents or the people that subscribe, because nowadays there was this recent internet law that was passed where you can only send out correspondence to people that actively subscribe to it. You can't assume anyone wants that information, so you really do have to reach out and ask for it. What community is you say it's a network, so it's communities across an area?
One other question I have here, Mark. One participant is wondering if there's enough service for the Michael Donovan Library to be open extra hours, more hours than what's scheduled down. I'm not sure if you would have the answer to that one.
Well, library hours are really determined by staff and by the manager in question. So I mean, it's certainly possible the library hours can change, but it's not necessarily like so easy, right? So it's so I'd say it's not so easy to just change library hours. It has to be a real deliberate effort, and there has to be real a real justifiable reason to change it. And of course there may be, but it's that's in a way to bring a way to implement a change like that is to join your local library board and bring it up in the discussions with that group, and the library board and the library staff do work closely together to determine what the best service for for a town or a community will be. So that's my answer.
That's probably a question best responded to by management or the board.
Exactly. Yeah. And each region is managed individually. So it would be best directed to the St. John's Library management. And
Mark, would it be helpful, I mean, in cases like that, where someone is interested in expanding library services or expanding the hours, would it be helpful for that person to probably just drop a little letter to the board or something, like, please consider?
Could be. So for example, Torbay community had, it has X number of open hours, but the town wanted to, and say like the number of open hours is kind of determined by, I guess, community size and, other, management and our budget, right? So budget hasn't necessarily grown in a period since the last time it was cut, frankly, in like 2015, I think. But Torbay community wanted more open hours than they were allocated by the parameters of our organization. So that community fundraised, the local board fundraises, and the town itself, the municipality, makes a donation to the public library board, and with the amount of money that they have, they're able to expand library hours, I think five more hours than a week than what was otherwise possible by the community's own initiative. So that is one way that you can impact open
Okay.
hours at a particular branch.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you so much for the presentation. I learned more about libraries today than I ever did, I know.
And like I said,
And
if there's anything that you like really want to see at your library, if you're like really passionate about a subject and
yeah,
or like a topic, the best way to find out if it's possible is to bring it up to your, the library staff in your area. But really the other best way to do it is to, to volunteer yourself and to, if I want to have like a learning about computers, program, then, maybe I start a group that's going to come in and, help each other learn more about, about computers and technologies.
yeah, yeah. And again, Mark, thank you very, very much. And thank you everybody else for joining us today. It was really informative and I was so glad to see that many people there. Coming up next on Let's Talk About, next Tuesday, January 26th from 9:30 to 10:30 again, we will have seniors and mental wellness. And I do hope that some of you will tune in for that. And also coming soon to Let's Talk About, we're going to be talking about abuse of seniors, violence, and the victim supports that are in place for victims of violence. So they will be coming up very soon. And again, thank you so much, everyone, and thanks to United Way NL for their support of our information series. Take care, everyone, keep safe, and hopefully we'll see you all again. Thanks, Mark.
Mary.